Hi guys! Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ila and today we are going to talk about languages. Yes. How many languages do you speak? And how many languages would you like to speak? Let me know in comments below. Honestly, I love languages and I would like to speak at least 10 languages, and when I say speak, I mean maybe not be super duper fluent, but be at least level A2, where you can express yourself and describe things which you need to. Well, that would be perfect. So far I can speak 4 languages, but it is a little bit complicated. Let me explain you what I mean by complicated. So I'll try to organize the languages by the language I've learned and the language I've spoken. So I think it will make everything a little bit clear, because when I explain it, it's really messed up. Okay, if you're ready, let's get started. Alright, my first language is Azeri or Azerbaijani, which is my mother tongue. So I was born in Azerbaijan. Obviously the first language I spoke was Azeri. Actually, I could also read some Arabic, but I couldn't understand, speak or write it. I could just read it because I had some private lessons where I learned how to read Quran. Can you imagine? I could read this. Well, till age 9, my mother tongue was the only language I spoke. And then we moved to Russia, and as you can guess, you speak Russian in Russia. Surprise! Well, and the only person who spoke Russian in my family was my dad. And my mom could speak some broken Russian. So I and my sisters couldn't speak any Russian at all. And I think it took us about a year to learn the language properly. So I mean, to write, to read, to speak, to understand everything. And my family encouraged us during that year, to learn the language as fast as possible. So they encouraged us to speak Russian even at home, and they also spoke some Russian to us. So they wanted us to be literally into that language, not just outside of home, but also at home. And honestly, it helped. And in a year, when my parents realized that we already can speak Russian, they switched back to Azeri, but we didn't. We kind of got used to speak Russian to our parents, so we continued that way. So it's how my second language replaced my first language, my mother tongue. Ridiculous. And it continued for 6 years while we lived in Russia. 6 years later, we moved back to Azerbaijan, and I realized that I can't speak my mother tongue. Da, 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 da. Well, I could understand everything, and I kinda was making simple sentences, but it was super slow, and I was translating from Russian into Azeri, and I couldn't remember some words. I was like, how to say this, how to say this. And people around me were telling me that I've got really strong Russian accent when I speak Azeri. Well, I didn't want to believe them because I could hear myself. I was speaking as everybody around me. And one day when I was shopping, I remember I asked something about the price or something like that. And the cashier guy looked at me and he asked me where I was from. And then he tried to guess if I grew up in Russia. Well, then I believed them that I really do have Russian accent when I speak Azeri. So, back to Azerbaijan. I needed to catch up the language which I stopped using, and it took me a while, a few months actually, because I needed to continue my education. I needed to go to school in Azerbaijan, so I needed to remember how to write everything and how to speak and how to read and so on. Well, I did. And since I wasn't allowed to speak any Russian at home, especially when we had guests over, my Russian was leveling down while my Azeri was leveling up. And we've got one more subject at school. Guess what? English. That's correct. So if nowadays kids learn English from kindergarten, I started learning English from grade 6. So I was, I guess, 13 years old. It was first time when I started learning English. So English became the third language I've learned. But it was a real disaster because we were focused on grammar and vocabulary, and we did lots of worksheets, but we never practiced any listening or speaking skills. So when I finished school, I could say, "Hi, how are you?" I think that was my level. Instead of practicing English at school, I was practicing another language, Turkish. Well, it wasn't like I had any classes or private lessons, no. I was watching TV shows and listening to Turkish music, which is amazing, by the way. And the reason why I was able to learn it so quickly is because Turkish and Azeri are quite similar. I'd say 50-50. So yeah, so I was able to learn it just by watching TV shows and listening to music. And then I started speaking Turkish to my classmate just for fun, you know. And then without realizing it, I started speaking Turkish to my mom, which she didn't like, by the way. But for some reason, I couldn't just speak, and I still can't speak Azeri to my family. It's either Turkish or Russian. I don't know why. Well, Türkçemin ne kadar iyi olduğunu bilmem çünkü Türkçeyi kimseyle konuşmadım uzun zamandır. Dizi de izlemiyorum, müzik de dinlemiyorum artık. Hani pratik yapmadığım için Türkçem o kadar iyi değil ama anlıyorum. So I think if I move to Turkey one day and stop speaking any English and will focus on Turkish, I think I will get to the level fluent easily because I understand everything. It's just a struggle of speaking because every time when I try to speak fast, as I do it with English and with Russian, just other languages jump into because I don't have enough vocabulary, or I can't just get that vocabulary which is really far somewhere there to the front, and my brain is like, hey, there's a word. I'm like, no, that's not Turkish, that's English, I need Turkish. And there's a little SpongeBob running around and he's like, wait, Turkish, I can't find it, we need time.
His name, I got nothing on a name. Come on, baby, what's the name? We threw out his name!
You know, so that's why my Azeri and Turkish are super slow right now, because I haven't spoken in Azeri or Turkish for like 8-9 years, but I still can understand. And if I try to speak, it's going to be really slow and I need to translate some words. Yeah, that's what I meant when I say complicated. Okay, moving on. There are some more languages I've tried to learn. Okay, 5 years later, we moved back to Russia and I decided that I want to study languages at uni because I quite like them. and I needed to pass 2 exams, English and Russian. And as you remember, my Russian leveled down during 5 years in Azerbaijan, and my English was in level high. How are you? Yep, honestly, I'm not joking, that's absolutely serious. So that's why I took some private lessons to level up my Russian and, you know, practice some listening and speaking skills for English, because I was like literally zero. And a year later I passed those exams and I started uni, and the first language and the main language we started learning at university was English. 6 months later we got our second language, which was German. For me it was fifth language which I started learning, and then a year later we learned Spanish, which was my sixth language. So if you can imagine, it was quite complicated to, you know, rule all those languages in your head while you still hear Azeri at home, and you still try to level up your Russian to the university level, because it's not the same as chatting to your friend. And I've just started practicing speaking and listening skills of English, and there were 2 new languages, absolutely new languages for me, which is German and Spanish. And we also learned Latin, which is a dead language, and the only thing which I remember is alter ego, terra nova kind of things. So yeah, it was quite messed up. By the way, German and Spanish, I haven't practiced them after uni. I just like literally wrap them and throw them somewhere in back of my head. So, and actually I regret about it. It's like really shame on me. I needed to practice those languages because they are really beautiful and useful languages, but yeah, maybe I need to get back to them. Maybe I need to start practicing them, like at least get to the level A2, you know. I feel so bad about it. But good news, right now I'm practicing Mandarin. So I try to learn Chinese. I'm using the app for that, and I can say that I'm doing quite well by, you know, learning vocabulary and the grammar and, you know, the sentence structure kind of things. But I can't speak. And that's the main problem. It doesn't matter how long I will be practicing my vocabulary, grammar and so on, I won't be able to speak the language if I don't start speaking it. I know it as a person who studied languages for years, and as a person who teaches languages. I know that it's a big problem, and I need to, you know, step out of my comfort zone. I need to start practicing Mandarin. So if you can help me with Mandarin to, you know, practice it in really slow level, I would be happy. Yeah guys, so right now there are 2 main languages which I use every day. The first language is English, and I also use Russian, not so often, just speaking to my family, which is like once a month probably, and to my friend when we Skype in, but we actually mix Russian and English, so it's not exactly practicing Russian. But I speak it, I understand it, it's all good. Yeah, so that's basically my crazy language thing, and I call it crazy because it's quite messed up, and I would like to be able to speak all those languages at the same level without any accent, you know, without thinking how to say that phrase or those words. But I haven't learned any language as a bilingual, you know. My first language was Azeri, then was Russian, then was Turkish, and then the last language which I started speaking was English. So, and right now English is the main language which I use, and my mother tongue is the last language which I can speak properly. Isn't it ridiculous? I know, right? Anyway, guys, it was nice chatting to you, and I would like to hear your language journey. Is it as complicated as mine? So let me know in comments below. Don't be shy. Share your story. I would like to read it and comment on it. So I think that's all for today, and it's time to say thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye. Don't forget to like and subscribe.